This is Kits and Wagers. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by Chris Owen to discuss Game Week 20 in the Premier League. Chris is back from was it 2 week, almost 2 week trip to Argentina. You got Boca Juniors. You got a nice little quarter zip going on right now. Tell us how much you learned about Messi and the Argentinian culture on your short trip there.
I think I knew about his. Well, yeah, I learned a little bit about Messi, but not much that I didn't know already, which was interesting. But yeah, we it was really good. Argentina, great place. I'm coming back little fatty, a little fatter, a little sassier than I was originally. I did do a La Bombonera, Boca Juniors stadium tour when I was in Buenos Aires, so that was cool. Learned a lot about yeah, just Argentinian soccer, but that was cool. I picked up a book while I was down there too, so I'm going to try and learn a little bit more. Beautiful country. I was visiting some family in Wisconsin for Christmas, and then so it was about -8 degrees Fahrenheit when I left, and then by the time I got down to Argentina, it was about 75 degrees. So a really nice change of pace in that perspective. But yeah, down there for a couple weeks, and good to be back. Good to obviously good to travel, but always good to get back and sleep in your own bed. So, and most of all, I miss the Kids and Wagers podcast. We are kind of coming off a decent podcast. I think that would have been 2 weeks ago, where we did okay, and yeah, looking forward to getting back into it and potentially making some good bets again.
Yeah, I guess I didn't mention we're back after we're back after a break. I was also in Wisconsin and just didn't have a good enough internet service. I didn't want to push it. There's so many games, and I just didn't want to put out a show that was going in and out because of service issues, kind of a thing. But one last question here: what was the best thing that you ate in Argentina? I'm putting you on the spot. If you can
Hmm.
come up with your
I think
favorite thing.
I'm gonna go with like a more general and then a more acute answer too. I mean, empanadas, man, you can get them anywhere, and they are just bar none. Like just like a little. It's like a. Is it a sandwich or is it a taco?
It's
You
like
know.
a mini pasty. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you're up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, for sure, but probably a little bit better than a pasty, in my opinion. But
do you have was it a meat empanada or
yeah, I mean, I had all I,
you had all of them? Okay,
I had probably like 20 empanadas at least when I was down there.
excellent.
But yeah, so those were really good. And then we went to an Argentinian asado, and it's like this all. They had chicken, they had lamb, they had a lot of red wine, beef, some. If you've ever had blood sausage, I get some
Oh
blood
yeah.
sausage. I'm definitely not a vegetarian, so it would be tough if you went down there as a vegetarian, which is not ideal. But I think the asado with just like 6 different meats. There was like chorizo. Oh man,
Did
I
they have
would.
like meat spits, like the vertical thing where they're just cutting off? No.
No, it was like this setup, and I learned that I like this is kind of a smoke and meats podcast
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes.
100%.
But I learned that the asado, I forget what his name is, the guy who like runs it, but he only uses like hardwoods, which is to do that while you're smoking because
Hmm.
they smoke for longer, they hold heat for longer, they
Yeah.
don't ash as much, I think. And so he only used cedar for and like a little bit of like charcoal kind of to get it going. And then you just like set up these grates, get your meat going. He's got a spatchcocked chicken that he's like putting lime over, switching in and out. Got the big old like beef loin, the chorizo's hanging out, it's getting warm. It was like, if you're into that sort of thing, it was a
I'm
true thing of
jealous.
beauty.
I'm
Yeah. So,
jealous.
gonna try and do my own asado someday. I think I've become inspired.
Yeah, you get your future house or whatever. You're gonna have like an
Yeah,
asado
something.
room or something where
Whole
you get
backyard.
you get cedar planks
Yeah,
just
keep the
lined
red wine
up.
coming. Yeah.
That'd be pretty awesome. But I'm jealous here. But we got to get into this show here. We're 5 minutes in. The people want
Yeah,
picks. The
we
people
need
want
to.
bets. I posted an article here. You can find it on the site if you just want to look at our betting records for each team. I think this is I don't know. I mean, how much it'll help. I guess it's more so about fun for us to look at
Yeah.
how good we've done in certain teams. Like I have these weird records where I'm 6-0 and 7-0 for Leicester and Manchester United games, which is pretty crazy because I feel like those teams are the two teams that I'm always like, I don't know what to do with these teams. You're undefeated here. You're 4-0 with Fulham. You still don't have a win on a Crystal Palace game. I don't have a win on a Southampton game. So some interesting numbers here to look at, though.
It's like when you look at NFL against the spread, and RotoWire has this really interesting tool you can use on the betting website when you're looking to make against the spread picks. But it's like, you look at it like the Eagles or a strong team who's really good against the spread, and then you're like, oh yeah, like I'm going to pick them this week. They're like whatever, ATS on the road,
Yeah.
and then you pick them, and it's like, oh shit, or shoot,
No.
that didn't work out. So take this with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But we,
Yeah, I mean,
we're
I'm
doing
just
good.
looking now. We got the Manchester Derby. That's the first thing. I'm 1-4 in Manchester City games, but 7-0 in Manchester United games. Something's gonna have to happen here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, but yeah, so last week, Chris, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, Chris hit all four of his. Actually, we have to mention this is the first time all season that we're all in the positive. We're all in the green. All of our bets, my bets, Chris's bets, the team parlay, all in the green. We're all in the positive right now. So we're feeling pretty good about ourselves. Chris is feeling really good, even though I mean he hasn't truly followed a ton of what's happened last couple weeks because of his travels. So we'll see how that affects his bets. But um,
Let's just say that I went 4-0 the week before. I'm back to
yeah,
positive. It's been
yeah,
I
we'll just
started the
say that.
season ice cold, and I've been slightly getting balmier as the season's gone on, and I'm back to positive. The parlay is back to positive. Um, so yeah, haven't watched a ton. I've been keeping up with it obviously, but we're gonna get right into it here with a big match. It looks like.
Yeah, the Manchester Derby, and we have Manchester City, an away favorite, -120. These numbers have changed a little bit just based off of Manchester City losing at Southampton. Losing at Southampton. I think Southampton are last in the table, or they're down there. They just lost at Southampton. I got to keep repeating that because it's a
in
crazy,
the
it's
in the
crazy to
uh,
think.
in the League Cup.
Yeah, in the Carabao Cup. Yep.
Yep.
This is Wednesday. But you got Manchester United to win is plus 320. A draw is plus 290. Over 2.5 goals, -145. Under 2.5 goals, plus 115. And the last time these teams played, it was 6-3. Manchester City. Did they start out like 5-0 or something? Then United got a couple late goals, but I think that one was 6-3. So
Yeah, it was 6-3 back in early October, and yeah, Man City went up 4-0 inside of in the first half, and then United picked up 2 goals after the 84th minute from Martial and 2 goals from Anthony Martial. So
yeah,
yeah, it was they ran out and ran away with it right away.
yeah, so I mean, we could look at this and say, okay, Manchester City coming off a weird result, but back-to-back wins against Chelsea, pretty dominant wins against Chelsea. Manchester United probably playing as well as they have been all season. They're level with or Newcastle right now on the table. They're 4 points behind Manchester City in the table. So I mean, there's a real chance here if United get a win here that they're 1 point behind City in the table, which is just I don't know, crazy to think about just because of it. It just seems like early in the season, it seemed like another almost lost season from United from, what the media was talking about with Ten Hag. They had some struggles early on, but, they've really figured some things out. Martial's been healthy. Anthony's provided a spark. Casemiro's provided something. So they're playing well. What do you think here? What do you think about the odds, though? Um, is this just like a name just based off like history more of a thing, or is this you still agree with the odds here just because of I don't know who these teams are, and you still got De Bruyne and Holland and all that?
I mean, they're interesting, but let me be clear. Like, City's the superior team. I don't think anyone would argue that. But yeah, I do think the odds are a little bit interesting considering the game is at Old Trafford. I obviously City went out and kind of just blew them out of the water in their first matchup, but United have been playing much better. I think what did you say, 4 in a row in the EPL, and City, coming off a loss, but I think the thing that popped out to me was just like minus 120 money line for Man United at home. So if you wanted to take that, that's well within the range of bets we take on this show. Yeah, they're looking good. They're in the top 4. It's a tough one for me. I just think that there's not really too many injury issues to necessarily worry about. United they won in the FA Cup, was that, or was that the League Cup? Or it was the League Cup. I think Anthony scored kind of a scorcher the other day.
Yeah, that was Tuesday. That was Carabao Cup, and then the weekend was FA Cup. They beat Everton in that one.
Yeah, so interesting. It's not that I think that United is better than City. I just think that some of the odds are maybe a little bit more friendly towards them for betting, so I lean that way. And helps that they're at home. And the other thing too is that 6-3 match to begin the season, and then their second game in the matchup last season was, I think it was 4-1. I want to say.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of goals in the last 2 games, but when you look back on some of the games, over the past like 3 years ahead of that, there are a lot of like 2-0, 1-0, 0-0. And both teams kind of splitting results. I know City over probably the last like 5 to 10 years has probably had a little bit more success over United, but there hasn't been a ton of goals aside from the last 2 matches here. So for me, I'm gonna look at the bigger sample size and say maybe Eric Ten Hag kind of like plays a more defensive approach against City. Maybe they sit back and try to hit on the counter with some of their speed. So in that instance, I'm going to go no on both teams to score, plus 130. I looked at a lot of different stuff for this. It's an interesting one to bet. And I did send my bets over to Adam last night, and we had a similar one here. So I think we're kind of in line with where the odds break. But I'm going to go no on both teams to score, plus 130. I'm not sure who's going to keep the clean sheet, but I do think that somebody will.
It definitely feels bold, but I think that does kind of line with how these teams play and how they're playing. I was really looking at something like that just because that 6-3 result scared me.
Yeah.
And actually, yesterday's result kind of scares me too, because I'm on Manchester United double chance. That's plus 100. But I wrote this bet down, I think on Tuesday or Monday or something early in the week when I saw the odds. And then Manchester City lost yesterday. So, I mean, this is technically a bounce back spot. This is a spot where Pep's pissed off a little bit and he wants to see something out of his team. So that leaves me kind of worried a little bit, because how many times did Manchester City lose back-to-back matches?
Yeah, you make a good point.
Right. So that is difficult, but I mean, this isn't a free matchup. I pulled up the box score the last time these teams played, and you have Varane getting hurt early on. He wasn't completely healthy anyways, I don't think, to start that match. We had Lisandro Martinez early in his Manchester United career. Malacia started early in his Manchester United career. McTominay was in there instead of Casemiro. Jadon Sancho started that match, and Sancho's, who knows what's going on with him? He has like a mysterious illness to where he's not even in the team. So you got a couple things you look at with that Manchester United lineup that, it's just almost a completely different team, at least in terms of the familiarity with a lot of these guys. So I am worried about just a bounce back for Man City, and I was going to pull up a quote from Pep Guardiola where he was like, I'm going to do something ridiculous with my lineup or whatever that meant in terms of this matchup. He's done some crazy things, to be honest. I think it was the league match against Chelsea. They went with, I guess I can pull it up right here. They went with a really weird formation where it was like 3-1-4-2 or something like that. Yeah, here we go. 3-2-4-1. That's what they did in the first half. Whereas like Pep is like trying to overthink some things to where, he has, I think, Kyle Walker played center back yesterday, I believe. He played in like a back three in this game. Cancelo started out. He's basically playing as a forward in that game. And they just did not look very good. And Pep was like, yeah, my mistake for trying to do some weird things. And And then now he comes out for this match. He's like, I'm going to do something ridiculous with the formation or something. It's like why are you trying to do so many different things? Or maybe he's just playing mind games with the media. I don't know, but
It was,
I'll just take Man United's form and I'll lean on that and hope they can at least get a point here.
yeah, it feels more like mind games than like craziness out of Pep. I mean, let's give Pep some credit here on the track record. The guy knows what he's doing from a
Well,
managerial perspective.
he doesn't. I mean, this was a formation he's never used though. It like came out of
Yeah,
nowhere, like to run a 3-2-4-1 or whatever it was, and then obviously they changed things up in the second half. But like, what's even the point of that in a away match against Chelsea in league play? It's like okay, just messing around a little too much here.
yeah. Are the odds makers just playing games on us here with like the Manchester United -120, the at home the Man United double chance plus 100.
Man
Like
City -120. Just to
oh sorry yeah
clarify,
yeah
yeah,
good point. And then United's what like plus 230 or
three
something like that.
twenty to win.
320 yeah.
Yeah.
So like they're giving us really good odds with City at home or with United at home. Like possibly like oh yeah that's we're not smart and going to go pick up United on these like favorable odds, whereas like City's obviously been a much better team overall.
It's almost like so today there's a game between Chelsea and Fulham where
Hmm.
Chelsea are the odds are almost similar here. Chelsea are away at Fulham and favored in that game, and it's like they're just trying to make you take Fulham. They're trying to make you
Yeah.
take Manchester United to win because of what these teams have looked at. Maybe they're playing games with us, and Chelsea are going to win at Fulham. City are going to win this game, but I mean, we it's just hard to look at the form of these teams and what they're doing and kind of side with the away side with the away teams in these situations. But I mean, when we talk next week, it's going to be Manchester City, they got some early goals and they won 3-0, and Manchester United couldn't do anything about it, and we'll be like, yeah, well, that's possible. That was possible.
Well, if it's in fact 3-0, then my bet will hit.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect, perfect. We're all set. All right, next game we had a couple that we wanted to talk about for a relegation battle, and this one, let me double check where they're at. I guess these teams technically aren't in relegation here. Leicester and Nottingham Forest are just above it, but just above it, 2 points. They're both on 17 points, both 2 points ahead of Everton here. So Leicester are home. Wait, is that right? Forest, Nottingham Forest are home. I'm
Yeah,
reading this
yeah.
wrong.
Forest is home.
You have at the top here. We got to get this fixed. We got Leicester on top, and then right here we got Forest on top of these. It's confusing here, but Nottingham
I
Forest are
I couldn't
home.
agree more.
We got the odds are pretty much even here. Forest
Hmm.
plus 175 to win, Leicester City plus 170 to win, draw plus 230. And actually, one thing that stands out here, we look at this line movement. Well, this is January 1st, so 12 days ago. Leicester City were plus 125. So, for whatever reason, the odds have gone into Nottingham Forest's favor. I'm not sure a ton has happened in that period, except for like James Madison's been injured for the last couple weeks. But I mean, I feel like he's maybe injured before that. So, I mean, it's just kind of growing here that maybe people are betting on Forest double chance, maybe, or even like a draw in this match because the draw has also gone from 255 to plus 230. So, uh, I don't know if you've seen my bet yet, but we're going in opposite ends here. So, what do you think
I
about
have
this
not
one?
seen your bet, so this will be interesting. A couple things do stand out to me about this one. Nottingham Forest at home, but neither team has been particularly good in the past few matches.
Or all
So
season, all
yeah,
season.
I'll see. Yeah, you go big sample size, you go small sample size. Both have been pretty poor. Somehow both are above the relegation zone against all odds, in my opinion. But Leicester City really dealing with like a number of injuries. Nottingham Forest has some too, but I'll be interested to see if Dewsbury Hall makes the starting lineup. Sounds like he's going to train on Friday, but he's been a pretty consistent starter all season for them. They're of course dealing with like both. There's just a bevy of injuries for both teams. But yeah, James Madison he's out for this one? Sounds like, or he's
He's like
questionable.
he's likely out.
Yeah.
Yeah, still no timeline, which was said 3 days ago. So
Yeah, if there's no timeline, then I would expect them to miss, just
yeah,
given that they're usually pretty upfront about it. But yeah, so that all that said, it's like two teams. I don't feel like either one's good enough to like take on a totally like, oh, Leicester City will win or not. I love Nottingham Forest at home. So I'm gonna go. I do think that they're it's pretty small sample size over the past couple of years, but they did meet back in October, and I think Leicester won that one 4-0. So I think there will be a lot of goals. And when you look at the table here, Nottingham Forest at home, they're definitely a little bit better defensively than they are away. They've given up, let's see, I think it was quite a few. Sorry here.
Leicester City away. We're talking.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Nottingham Forest at home has been a little bit better, but they've given up 12 goals, scored 11, so they've definitely doubled about what they score away. And then Leicester City away is actually like they've given up 21 goals away, so the third most in the league, and they've scored 17. So I expect a bevy of goals here. Just like looking at both their home and away forms. And so for that reason only, I'm going to take the over 2.5 goals at -105. It was -105 last time. I haven't double checked this one.
You brought up that 4-0 result, and I wasn't even thinking about that uh, when I was looking at this match, which I don't know, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, but I remember that match specifically. I think I had no on both teams to score. It was 4-0. It still hit, but Nottingham Forest, I think it was the first 20 minutes. They probably should have gotten a goal. I think it was Awani who had a chance, maybe a slightly offside or he missed it or something like that. But Nottingham Forest should have went up one goal in that match, and then right after that, like James Madison got something out of nothing, and it basically fell apart. I almost want to change my bet to take Nottingham Forest plus 170 because I kind of thought they're, even though it's 4-0, like that, they almost looked better as an overall team in that first matchup, but I'm not going to change my bet.
It was also 3 months ago, right?
It was also 3 months ago, but I think Nottingham Forest, I mean, I think both teams are kind of playing better. Um, Looking at the injuries, I'm not sure outside of Madison, we'll see about Dewsbury Hall. Leicester has been kind of using like Iose Perez in there, and that's fine. I think Albrighton started in their last cup match. Willie Boley picked up an injury. Is that yesterday, maybe on Wednesday? So something to keep an eye on. Iwoni is another guy, but they added Gustavo Scarpa, who may get the start. He already started against Wolves on Wednesday. Scarpa's just like where did he come from? Palmeiras, I want to say, in Brazil. But he's just like another attacking player. Yeah, he's at Palmeiras. But yeah, he's playing in Brazil, so it's his first time basically in Europe playing. So just a player to keep an eye on. But yeah, you're going over. I'm
Yeah,
going under.
interesting.
I think like you take away James Madison from this team, and I just don't know what you're actually getting from Leicester in terms of scoring goals. I know some of these matchups since the World Cup break have been pretty difficult, but I mean they've scored like they played Newcastle twice. They lost 2-1 against Liverpool. They lost 1-0 against Fulham, and even against Gillingham. Like Gillingham is not a good team. They still only managed one goal from 14 shots, and it's just like it seems like Madison is kind of everything for him. I mean, he's their best player. I mean, there's no
No,
question about
no.
that. So I kind of don't want to bet on goals on Leicester without Madison. So I'm going under 2.5 goals. It's -120. Then you also look at what Nottingham Forest have done at home, and it's mostly lower scoring matches, at least since early in the season. I think they've at least figured out what to do with their lineup a little bit. They've had pretty consistent starting 11, especially in the midfield. But I mean, you look at what they've done. Allowed one goal against Chelsea, held Crystal Palace scoreless, held Liverpool scoreless, allowed one against Aston Villa. So I was going to consider knowing both teams to score, but that they just drew 1-1 against Wolves in Cup, and that had me worried. So I'm just going to go under 2.5 at -120, and I'm just going to take the opposite route of Chris there.
Yeah, this will be great. We can one of us will hit the win column here. Will be quite interesting to see. I see your points as their recent form and some of their home form, but like both teams, I think Leicester's got to be one of the worst teams defensively overall in the league. Nottingham Forest is the second worst team. They've conceded 34 goals. Most of those, 22 of those have come away, and they're playing at home, so that makes sense. But Leicester City have given up the 30 or the fourth most goals, and 21 of those have 21 of the 31 goals have come away. So I don't know. That's a little bit bigger sample size in the recent times, but it'll be interesting to see which one of us hits a win column. Pretty similar odds.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, technically, I mean, the sports books are clearly, stealing money from these bets because both are minus odds. But
Yeah.
what are you gonna do here?
Yep.
Next match, we have Tottenham, our home against Arsenal. Another derby here, North London derby. We got Tottenham plus 225 to win, Arsenal plus 115 to win, draws plus 255. Those odds have kind of stayed the same for the most part over the last couple weeks. We got over 2.5 goals, minus 130. Under 2.5 is plus 100. This is an interesting matchup. Should be a fun one. How do you think this is going to go here? What do you think? How do you think Tottenham are going to look in this spot?
Well, first of all, Tottenham are missing some big attackers still, so it looks like Kulichevsky is going to miss, maybe Richarlison.
Brian Gill has looked okay, I will say.
But no, he's not the same,
No.
as
No.
Kulichevsky and then Richarlison. Yeah, so I don't. Although he's maybe looked okay, that's not the same. And then kind of going back to the last couple of years here, and the fact that Arsenal is like playing the best football in the Premier League right now. So, but looking back at some of the most recent results, it kind of seesaws back and forth between Arsenal and Tottenham winning, but most of the time the home team has won. So, going back to last season, I think Arsenal won 3-1 at the Emirates, and then the Tottenham also won at home. And then the year before, the same thing. Arsenal also won at home. Tottenham won at home. So I guess that was in the League Cup, but it's been switching off, and I think just given the recent form and Arsenal not really dealing with as many injuries, yes, they're going to start Eddie Nketiah up front again, but he's been decent for them. So all that said, I think I like Arsenal money line here in the North London derby, playing at home, right? And
Arsenal are away.
Oh, they're away. So that makes a difference, but I just think the recent form that's got me a little more concerned. I thought I read that. This is the classic where you look at Google, the EPL thing, and it's like top or bottom, and yeah. But anyways, Arsenal just overall much better.
You want to change your bet?
No, I'm going to stick with it.
The last time
I bet against Arsenal a couple times this season, and I feel like I continue to get mixed up on it. So I'm going to stick with them, and I do think that they just have a little bit more firepower. They're in a really good run of form right now, top of the table. I like your odds here. You're not necessarily picking it, or your bet a little bit more. You're not necessarily picking the team, but I think Arsenal pull this one out.
The last time the away team won in this one was in league play, was 2014. So that's.
Sheesh.
But yeah, you mentioned there's a couple League Cup wins. 2015 Arsenal won, and then more recently it was 2018 Tottenham won in the. I think this was the Carabao Cup, the EFL Cup in 2018. So, but yeah, I think the last 9 results has been the home side is getting some kind of points. But yeah, I mean, you look at how these teams are playing. This is another situation where we have like Arsenal playing really well. I mean, I guess almost the opposite situation in terms of who's home, who's away, compared to that Manchester derby. But we have Arsenal playing well, favored a little bit. Tottenham have been pretty much up and down. I mean, we can look at some of these results. They beat Portsmouth 1-0. I mean, I guess it'd probably be. I'd say it's kind of disappointing that they only got 1 goal in that match, but that Crystal Palace match really got away from Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace should have got a first half goal, and then Tottenham just put it on 4 goals in the second half. And I mean, just looking at the XG, Tottenham had 1.39 in that one. Crystal Palace had 19 shots, but So I mean that lines up with your bet just in terms of how these teams are playing. So I'm going. So in terms of how these teams are playing, that's what my bet is based off of. I'm taking this one's kind of crazy. I was going to take over 2.5 goals. That's -130. Both teams' to score is -170. So I kind of wanted something a little better. So the way that Tottenham have been playing for months now is that they look pretty bad in the first half. The other team gets a goal early. They allow goals. I think at one point in 10 straight matches, the other team scored first against them. And now you throw Arsenal into the mix. I do think Tottenham will probably come out maybe doing some attacking. But let's go under the assumption that Arsenal get a lead and Tottenham have to push. So Tottenham push in the second half. Just give them most corners in the second half for Tottenham. That's +135. Those are pretty good odds when you consider Arsenal are the favorite. And it's assumed by the odds that Arsenal will be ahead in the second half. So uh, this bet just makes sense here. Just going back to, I wanted to get one corner bet here, and that's what I'm with. So what do you think about that?
I think we're gonna get one more corner bet in the show too, so that's important. But yeah, let Adam get his corner bets in. That's our mantra of 2023. Yeah, interesting. I do think the run of play here will maybe have Tottenham pressing a little bit more in the second half. But yeah, gonna go back to my bet and just acknowledge the oversight on my part. I'm thinking that Arsenal was at home, so I'm gonna offer a secondary bet. I am gonna stick with Arsenal money line here, but just out of abundance of caution, I'm going to offer a secondary bet, and that's over 2.5 goals.
There it is.
It's +130, so or minus 130,
yeah.
-130. 6 of the last 8 matchups between these two teams have hit over 2.5 goals. They both have Arsenal have been pretty solid lately, and Tottenham as well. So that's just a secondary bet. If you're like, okay, Chris, you don't know how to read a schedule, maybe you want something a little bit different. So yeah, let me just acknowledge that major oversight on my part.
Yeah, it's the problem is that in the United States and in England or Europe or whatever, sometimes teams are listed, the home team is listed first, sometimes they're listed second, and it also depends on what site you're looking at. Uh, I always have this conversation with my wife about, because when the score bug on the screen is different for European soccer games compared to just all sports, I guess in the United States, it's lined up differently, and
it's opposite for NFL and EPL.
Yeah,
which those are the ones that I'm looking at the most.
Right. It's just dumb. So we'll give Chris a pass.
Not an excuse. Not an excuse.
Not an excuse, but I'll give him a pass. Okay. All right. So we got a team parlay, and I just pulled up our cheat sheet. This cheat sheet is a little more confusing than usual because there's now 12 games on it for FPL purposes for the game week, for game week 20. There are 12 matches because there are games next midweek. Crystal Palace play Manchester United. Manchester City host Tottenham next week. So, but RotoWire.com/soccer trial, you get a free 2-day trial. And I mean, this is kind of a gem. Once you can understand what you're looking at, you can see all of the odds, all of the implied goal totals. We have the highest implied goal total is Manchester City home against Tottenham. So that's something interesting for next week. But team parlay here, and we got to pull up the numbers here. We're 5-11 in our team parlay, up $191. This is $100 bets, and we hit, I think it was +360 or +390 or something like that in our last bet. So that was awesome. And now we're trying to keep it going, I guess. 5-11 up money. I think. I mean, there's nothing much to say about that. So, what's your pick here? You got Brighton.
Yeah, my pick is Brighton.
You're going against your team.
That's okay though. Sometimes you gotta acknowledge your faults. I looked at both these odds. I don't know if they changed. It was +135 last night, but it was Brighton a half goal or basically. Double chance was -135. Looks like maybe it's +140 now.
Yeah, minus 140. Yep.
Minus one. God, I can't get my pluses and minuses right this morning. Minus 140. You look at some of the previous results. Back in October, it was 3-3. Remember watching that game? I think Brighton went up 3-1 or in that at some point, and then Liverpool kind of clawed back. Last season, Liverpool won once, and then they drew. Same thing. That same situation happened the season before. Brighton playing way better, just from an overall perspective. And Liverpool was lucky. I mean, they lost last weekend. They were lucky to get that 2-1 result over Leicester City. They got it on 2 own goals. There's not much going on in the midfield for them. Brighton, I believe, are going to be without Trossard, maybe, which is a bit of a worry. But I think you look for maybe even a draw and or a win out of Brighton here. They are. Let's hope I got I read this one correctly. But
they're home.
Yeah. So there you go. Brighton are at home. A little bit easy, and then a big miss for Liverpool is Virgil van Dijk. He's going to be out. He's out for a few weeks or a month, maybe a couple months.
Yeah,
they're still missing some key pieces in attack. Gakpo hasn't really had time to integrate. I don't know if you want to call it that, but it's the feeling around those performances from Liverpool isn't particularly good. And Brighton, on the other hand, are playing pretty well. So I'm just going to go against it and go Brighton double chance. It's minus 140. Keep it moving, down in Brighton. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Chris going against his team. I don't know if that's a good thing.
As I'm drinking out of the This Is Anfield cup, it's kind of sacrilegious, but you got to be honest.
Yeah, my betting article is not up yet, but I may be talking about this game in it. I put something together while Chris was talking because I also like over 2.5 goals in this one. I think there's going to be goals. It was 3-3 last time these teams played. No Van Dijk. And just in terms of how these teams played, I think it kind of means goals. So you can get Brighton or draw and over 2.5 goals at plus 155. And I think that's pretty good option if you like Brighton. I think it's the Manchester City and Liverpool matchups that we're always like looking at the over 3.5 kind of a thing. And it's like, well, there's always goals in these games, so why don't we just take over 3.5, over 4.5 in all these games, and it just continually hits. Outside of, I think there's a scoreless draw earlier this season, but besides that, De Zerbi's first game with Brighton led to goals, so I think an over in that one. But I do side with Chris in that one. My bet is Brighton -1 corner in the first half against Bournemouth. It's minus 115, so you put that together with the minus 140. That's
Brentford.
plus 2.
Brentford.
Brentford -1. Yes, there's too many BRs. I'm just looking at this graphic.
Yeah, we got all Bs in this parlay.
Yeah, Brentford, Bournemouth, yes. But it's at plus 220 odds. So we got Brentford -1 corner in the first half. The hope is that this doesn't push. I was going to try and get something else, but Brentford have been playing really well. Are they in the top half of the table? I think they are now. Brentford are above Chelsea in the table. They came out of the World Cup break playing well, even without Tony, who's missed a couple weeks, maybe only a week, but he might be back. Even if he's not back, Bournemouth have looked bad without Marcus Tavernier, and I mean Brentford at home. I think they're just going to put the pressure on, and I won't be surprised if it was like Brentford 4 or 5 corners in the first half, Bournemouth 0-1. So I think even if you don't want to parlay this, I think you just take that by itself as well at minus 115.
The Corners and Wagers podcast is officially back. We've got 2 corner bets here from Adam this week.
I've been contemplating. I did a couple like short videos for the World Cup that are up on our YouTube, but I've been contemplating just doing a bunch of corner bets, like 30-second videos of corner bets, and
it would be interesting. That sounds like an article you're ready to write for the website. Is the weekly corners bets?
No article. I'm not taking the time to write an article. Just a 30-second video.
Much easier to corners. Say a bunch of things.
Yeah. All right, so there we go. We talked 2 derbies. We got some good bets in here. I think we can win all of these bets outside of the one where we went against each other. But this is a 40-minute show coming out of the break. It's early for Chris. He's coming out of vacation in Argentina, and it's just past 7 a.m. for him where he's staying. So we got to get him started on his actual work day instead of talking Premier League. But Chris, I guess I'll ask you, do you have any other thoughts for this slate before we go?
Not really. No, I two derbies. So we're lucky in that perspective
Yeah.
on two separate days. So lock in. I'm also going to go lock in with another cup of coffee here, sharpen my axe a little bit. It's clear
Good
there's a
idea.
little fog still left up there, so I'm going to try and get that out of there. And yeah, looking forward to some good games again, and hopefully we keep our upward trend going here. Adam very much in the black, and I just barely in the black here. So I would love to continue to see that trend go upwards.
We'll get there. We'll keep going up. We'll keep going up. You can find Chris at CHR at CHR 8 on Twitter. I am at Zdroik. That's it for the show. Kits and wagers. We got a bunch of DFS stuff also this week. Like and subscribe. Let's push the YouTube channel to over 750 subscribers. Let's do it, everyone. Subscribe to the channel. Continuous content for the next 5 months to end the Premier League season. Chris will be around doing the betting shows. We'll see everyone next week. Good luck with your bets, and let's win some money.
Thanks, Adam.